Hi Jennifer, this is Jenny, and I just finished reading Geisinger et al.'s Rights and Responsibilities of Test Takers, Guidelines and Expectations, and I saw all the things that you were talking about, and I was really interested in two aspects. One was the rights of the test taker, and Geisinger et al. Suggests that perhaps the most fundamental right of the test taker is to be able to take tests that meet high professional standards. Because the client and other test takers depend on the counselor to choose an appropriate assessment, this could be seen as the most fundamental responsibility. Many things must be considered in order to determine if an assessment is appropriate. And, what he says has high professional standards. Shepris et al. Reminds the counselor that the most important step is to identify the client's problem and the reason for assessment. So the answers to referral questions can be really helpful because they often reveal the problem. Once the reason for assessment is clear, a counselor should choose and implement how they will collect data. Many guidelines are given, and to choose the appropriate assessment, the counselor should review the manual, pay attention to cultural constructs, evaluate the reliability and validity of the assessment, and use multiple forms of assessment before forming conclusions. All these things are really important in order to help the client, the test taker, be able to use a test that has high standards. You mentioned you're surprised that test takers may not have the right to get a copy of their assessment. And while it seems reasonable to allow them to have access and allow them to keep assessments that they've completed, test security could be at stake. In addition to that, the ACA Code of Ethics adds that the results of the test should only go to people that can read the results, who are trained to do that. And I was just thinking about how, the test taker could take home their results, take home their assessment, and not understanding the psychometrics, have a wrong idea of what everything means, even if the counselor had already explained it to them, and that could actually cause harm. So I can understand, when I think about it that way, why it would not be good to always give the test taker the exam, the assessment, and all the data just to take home. Also, just thinking about the expectations that test administrators have toward test takers, it is a really interesting thing because it's like the test taker is the client, they are the one paying, and so it's kind of like a customer service issue. But I think about these expectations, how they're outlined when the counselor gets informed consent and explains the nature of the assessment and the test taker's responsibilities and the directions of the test. If the test taker does not follow directions, it could greatly influence the validity of the test. Shepris et al. Lists test taker characteristics as one of the factors that affects validity. So I think that we don't want to spin our wheels, so we do have expectations that the test taker will, be motivated and follow directions and do well as they assess, so that we can get good data to help them. That's the end product. So those are my thoughts about this rights and responsibilities